Sludge, follow Leader Grimlock, always.
So here he is, transformed, my Leader Class Sludge. So as you can see, he is a big boy. Oh, it's hard to even get him on frame, but yes, he is a big boy over here. So let's show you a little bit of his articulation. His head can turn around. It's a little bit in a ball joint, but you know, he's got such a broad chest that he can't really look down. But that's okay. He's a massive fella. And this thing goes all around. It has a slight ratchet. It can spread out this far. So it could go all around, but it's impeded by his dino body halves, aka wings/wings. He could turn his bicep all around, and that plays a part in the transformation. Just like with Grimlock, he could bend his elbow pretty much like this. Of course, he can also turn around his wrists. His waists, he has a full 360 on his waist, which is part of the transformation. He can spread his legs this much, so that's a lot all the way. He could kick that much forward, and he could kick that much backward. Impeded by his kibble, but that's good enough. I mean, Sludge is not really the most mobile character, you know, in the show, so that's fine. His legs bend this far back. Incidentally, they can also bend forward, but that's more for the transformation. But yeah, he could bend this far back. And you could get his ankle to go like this, so you could get him on some poses. This thing splits, so he kind of has a rocker. So that's pretty much the articulation of Sludge. So he's pretty articulate. And let's look at him detailed up close. That's his face, pretty good face. Looks like the G1 cartoon, looks like the movie. That's his Autobot symbol, big symbol on his chest. This is his really cool gun up close. That's a very nasty and nice looking gun, really powerful. He doesn't have a sword, sadly, but yeah, he comes with a gun. And nice detailing. You can see he's got a lot of these panels, so he's detailed. He's not just all smooth like in the cartoon. That's some nice detailing. He's got a nice combination of grays, silvers, and golds. Got blue dino eyes. And he's also got blue robot eyes. So overall, he looks very much like the cartoon. So let's give you a sense of scale. So there he is. Here he is with his boys. Here he is with Slag. And here he is with Grimlock, the leader. So we can see that they're all about the same height, which is good, because in the Power of the Primes, I felt he was too small. I felt like Grimlock was too big. So they scale really well together. So these are the first wave of Dinobots from the show. When they were first created, 3 of them were created. And later on in War of Dinobots, they created Snarl and Swoop. So hopefully they're going to make those guys in this line too, because they look awesome together because they're so cartoon accurate. So there's the whole gang. Now, back in the old cartoon, Optimus Prime was pretty much half his size. So, I don't know, depending on which episode you watch, his size varies. It's like the very first time they came out, he was literally like, Prime was like almost half his size. I don't have the Siege Prime, unfortunately. But I guess that Prime scales pretty well with him. But that's him next to my Deluxe Optimus Prime. And I'm actually fine with this because, yeah, I'm fine with this. Because in the show, it's like they seem to, in the first few episodes, they seem to become bigger when in robot mode, which makes sense because they unfold. But in the later shows, it's like they shrink when they're in robot mode and they're bigger when they're in dinosaur mode. So these guys, for me, scale pretty well. when in robot mode, when in dinosaur mode with this prime. Here he is with my titanium class Rodimus. Legends Bumblebee. Oh, Bumblebee is almost the same size as like a human, or like the same size as Wheelie. And here is RC. RC is from the Siege line, so she scales pretty well. So that's them all together, and that's their size. Pretty awesome. So now I'm gonna transform this big guy. So yeah, let's get started. First thing I want to do is keep this, put that one away. So let's start off with his fists. So you turn them all around, like what I did, and you push them in. You can always flip them over because there are these grooves where you could like put your fingernail and flip them over. But yeah, that's how they tuck in. Just turn them all around and swing them inside. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to raise his hands up, because just like in the cartoon, he does this. He raises his hands and he turns his waist. So once his hands are raised up, turn those around. There. Then work on the bottom half of his body. Sort of flip these parts down. His tail halves. These things flip up. So as a point of reference, this is going to be his underbelly. These things. This is the underneath of his belly. So just remember that. So these ones swing forward. These little toe parts fold in half. And technically you're gonna, just clear some of this off the way, because he swings all around. So once he's that way, back. Notice that you could kind of shift this around, so be sure to move those as such. There, let me just show it to you. That one, move those inward. Then you can connect the halves of his feet. So there are some poles and pegs. Just line it up and push it in. There we go. Now if you notice, there are these grooves over here in his butt, and there are these over here. So we're supposed to line them up to fold them there. But the way you fold it is you sort of gotta angle it, gotta slowly work it that way. So what I want to do is I kind of push it like that, and it kind of goes in an odd angle like this. You see the knees sort of collapse into themselves. Hard to explain, but you just kind of collapse it like that so it can go in at an angle. And then you just gotta line those grooves up. There we go. Now this is him actually lying on his back to give you a point of reference. So once those are lined up, you could straight up close up his wheels. Whoa, yeah, disconnected. But just remember that he is like a dinosaur that's lying down on its back right now. This is his belly. Right? The next thing I do after this is I detach this part. He's kind of like Grimlock, where these become his arms become his rear legs. So you detach it, which is detachable, see? You just unpeg it, because this thing pegs over here. There are some grooves that you line this up to. You unpeg it, then you turn it all around. And next, if you notice, there are some pegs here and some holes that line up. So as long as you line this up perfectly, you got his rear legs on point. So just angle it in such a way that that occurs. You just gotta remember that he's a dinosaur that's on his... This is his back. So you just gotta line that up. So as long as you get it curved over there. Over there. Perfect. Then you gotta line them up in the grooves. Here. Until they connect. So point of reference, this is his back. So you hide his head. You raise up his dinosaur head. I like to raise his head all the way up, like this. Open his mouth. These are now the halves of his body, his wings. So his wings sort of go that way. But before you do that, you kind of swing him like this to give clearance for his front feet to you know, swing out like that. There we go. And then this one nicely folds like this. Now, just like Grimlock, where his rear legs, or his muscular arms, or big arms, are his rear feet, you just gotta swing these things down over here. And then you just sort of clean it up. The last part is this. You swing these parts out because those are his dinosaur back parts. Yeah, they have little studs that fit in. I mean, holes that fit into pegs. And as you can see, this thing over here lines up to a hole inside. So just fold it down, guide it in until it snaps. As you can see, it closes up his wing halves. So there, and there you have it. Just angle the feet so you can get them all touching the ground, you know, so they're all level. And there he is. There is Sludge in dinosaur mode. So it gets some getting used to. But, you know, I kind of thought of him as like transform sort of like Grimlock, where this thing folds in the back and these are his body halves are his wings. So it's kind of like a more complicated version of Grimlock. Now this is where you store his weapon. There's an upgrade kit of this if you're willing to spend some extra money. A third-party upgrade where you can replace these toes into ones that fold inward to cover the hollow parts. But for now, you can just, there are those grooves fit here in these sort of pegs, and you put it here to store his gun, which looks like a big bazooka. So there we go. They fit nicely over there, and there he is. That's Sludge in dinosaur mode. So it takes some getting used to his transformation, but once you have it done, you can do it pretty fast. So far, he is the hardest one to transform. I mean, Grimlock's pretty easy, and same with Slag. As long as you line up Slag, he's pretty easy. Grimlock's the easiest for me. Yeah, maybe because, you know, he's my favorite transformer, so it's really like second nature. But once you get the hang of this, it's pretty cool. So like I said, he's a nice dinosaur. I mean, yeah, he's a nice... I'm really glad I have this guy. In the show, though, his tail doesn't really hang up here. It just drags down there because he's an old-timey dinosaur. I was kind of hoping the tail would be that way, but it's fine like this. And there he is, transformed. Sludge in Brontosaurus form. So this is Sludge in dinosaur mode. There he is. I craned his neck all the way up because, you know, he's supposed to be an old-timey brontosaurus. And in the show, his neck is pretty much craned up. But if you choose, it has enough articulation for you to lower it down for a more realistic-looking sauropod. He looks good to me. I just wish his tail was sort of dragging, since he's kind of a retro dinosaur and not this high up, but it's alright. So here he is with all of his joints. You can move his arms up and down. This one moves up and down. He's got a little bit of a joint here on his little toes, on his front toes, so that's pretty good. These are his robot arms, so they move. So you could get him on some pretty nice poses. On the neck can extend. Oh, that's his little gun that popped off. He can open his mouth, and you can move his head like so. So he's got a decent amount of articulation right over there. The gun store's underneath. There's his hollowed out belly. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but at least you could peg the gun over here. So that's Sludge in his dinosaur mode. Front view, bottom view, top view, side view. So that's Sludge. So we could do a little comparison with his dino buddies. That's him with the Triceratops. Slag. I remember Sludge being noticeably bigger, but I guess this is fine. The back of the Triceratops is a little bit higher, where in the cartoon I remember him being higher than the Triceratops. But this is good enough. That's why I craned his head up to make him look bigger. But other than that, they look pretty good together. And of course, this is their leader, Grimlock. So let's put him here on the side, flanking Grimlock. Yeah. And that's the original, the first 3 Dinobots. So they look good together. They scale pretty well. I just wish Sludge was a little bit higher up the ground, like his legs were a little bit longer to make him a little bit like this high. But all things considered, he looks really good with his Dinobot brethren. So these are the first wave of Dinobots. So they look good together. This is his box, by the way, Studio 86 series. So as you can see in his box, let's take a quick look. That's him busting through that Quintesson courtroom, stomping on Sharkticons, who are very small. Here's this, yep, Sharkticon getting crushed. I like this little, I like the way the colors look. I don't know, it looks very 80s, or very, yeah, something 80s about the way it looks. There's Sludge's face on the side. Studio Series 86, Leader Class. There's a better view of him. That's him shooting out his laser breath. Sometimes he's got flame breath, sometimes laser breath. And oh yeah, incidentally, he's got a little black plug in his mouth. So if you have any effects parts, sadly I don't, you could plug it in here, like a flame breath or something. I remember him having kind of like a flame breath or laser breath. Back here, behind the box, is more info. Well, not really that much info. It just says 31 steps to convert. They have him in his dinosaur and his robot form. Mockery of Justice. Big screen inspired scale detail backdrop. Oh yeah, he comes with a backdrop, so I'm gonna show that to you guys. So yeah, it's sort of the you could imagine that this is the door that he busts through. So yeah, it looks, you could put him as a robot form, but yeah, you can imagine. It's a pretty good backdrop, good enough for some decent shots. So that's what he comes. So that's what comes. That's what's in the box. So as you can see in the box, he is sort of displayed as a dinosaur in the box. So kind of like this. Here he is. So that's pretty good. That's how I use the display. Got the whole Series 86, Studio 86 going on there. So that's the box. So my final thoughts on Sludge are, he's a great buy. I really like him. I like him in robot form. I also like him in dinosaur form. My gripe is very minor. I just kind of wish he dragged his tail, but other than that, it's fine. And my other minor gripe is I wish he was a little bit taller. I wish his back was on the same level as Slag, because he's actually lower than Slag. Yeah. And it looks like he's dragging his belly because his robot toes are so low. Too bad they couldn't fold in. But other than that, I really like the way he looks. He looks great from the top and from the front. He looks fantastic from the front. So overall, I'm really glad I was able to get this guy. And I am looking forward to Snarl. Snarl and Swoop. It's hard to say who I like the best among all of my Dinobots, because they all look fantastic for me. My only gripe with this guy is, as I mentioned, I just wish he was a little bit taller. But other than that, he's pretty much very nice. I'm actually very happy to have Sludge. So, hope you guys enjoyed the review and hope to see you all next time.